Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we got Jameson Maxwell, we got Ty Lee, and folks, your OU softball team are the national champions. We all saw that coming, but what you didn't see coming, OU baseball heading to Omaha in what was just a truly immaculate series in the Blacksburg Regional. An incredible run. The Sooners stay hot, make it all the way to the promised land of baseball for sure. So we'll be talking about softball in a bit. We all know what we're going to talk about with them. They're the GOATs. They're incredible. We love them. But we have a lot to talk about with baseball for sure. An immaculate performance against Virginia Tech and the Hokies, as the Sooners say, give a big old adios to Virginia Tech. So let's get this thing started. Jameson, how have you been? How are you following the Super Regional, and how hype are you about this?
Yeah, I watched all of the games and closely, and I'm just amazed of how young our team is. Because Peyton Graham being our best player, redshirt sophomore, and Spikerman's been playing really well. He's a freshman. Robertson playing really well, sophomore. That's the first three in our order, and then today we just had other people picking it up. Treadway had a lot of 4 big hits today. It seems that our bats are so hot, and if we can keep the pitching together, there's not a lot of teams that can keep up with 11 runs a game.
I mean, absolutely. The offensive production is insane. We've known that, but the pitching is really taken that step up. Cade Horton coming in today, day 3, that is the type of guy who you really when you really need an outstanding pitching performance, you put in Cade Horton, he gets the job done. That was absolutely, he was the difference maker today for the Sooners, without a doubt. Because the Hokies, they're hot. They're just like the Sooners. Their bats get hot. They get going. They put up a ton of runs, especially at home. But Horton just shut them down. So just holding them to 2 runs, incredible. So
yeah,
the offense obviously gets a lot of the flash, but the pitching and the defensive, fielding, especially with Kendall Pettis out there flipping over the bullpen,
that was nuts.
Making insane dives. I mean, it was an incredible, incredible game. I'm thrilled. I'm pumped for sure. So you know what? Cheers to the Sooners.
Another sophomore in Pettis too. We've got a really young team, and our starting pitching, with Horton out there, he's thrown absolute heat, and it's just having multiple pitchers that can throw high 90s. We saw both in today's game. Horton came out through high 90s, and then in relief, it was Martinez was throwing high 90s, and then honestly, Trevin Michael, our closer, has been really closing some games. We saw it in game 1 versus Virginia Tech. He came in and held it down whenever we were up 5-0 and almost blew that lead. And then today, just coming in, he just gets the work done at the end of the games we've seen in the past. So that's always good. I feel very confident in our closer that if we do get in close games, which is inevitable in Omaha, that we have that in our back pocket.
Absolutely. Got to have a closer for sure. Got to have a closer. But, I got to say, it's just, this is such a fun team. Pitching great. Offense is great. The amount of, as our good pal Boaton Blake would say, jumbo dongs were off the charts. The dongs are going crazy. It was wonderful. But, Ty, I know you've been a little out of pocket, on vacation and everything. Have you had a chance to catch any baseball? What are your general vibes about with baseball making their run to Omaha?
Yeah, I have a couple points. First off, Bobby, thank you for clarifying. I know on this podcast, I'm known to be out of pocket in two ways. So thanks for clarifying that I've been out of pocket on vacation. And
where's our paycheck, Bobby?
I said something a couple weeks ago and got picked up a 1-week ban. That did not occur.
That absolutely didn't occur.
We need to probably start administering 1-week bans to people, though. What else was
Ty, do you really want that? Because you'd be hit with one so often. You'd be turning into Draymond Green out here all of a sudden when we're like, all right, Ty's got 1 technical foul, but I don't want to give him a second. I don't know. He's just riding the line at all times. So pretty much he has a green card to do whatever he wants.
Ty starts hosting his like post podcast, like a post. He's like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's BS. What Jameson's take wasn't very good. I did my best to put in my time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
For
giving
sure.
the X and O's out of our podcast plan. Like these
Make
guys
it up.
actually didn't do any planning before game. Just showed up, winged it. Horrible work. I don't even know what they're
They don't even know what baseball is.
Well, Bobby at least obviously had a pre-prepared champagne glass, so there is that.
Oh no, I was just drinking this. This is what I do on Sundays.
But anyways, back to baseball. Super exciting to see the Sooners move from the Hattiesburg Super Regional to Omaha, which is awesome because Omaha has those steaks, the Omaha steaks. That's what they're known for, I think. That's why I know that term. Omaha steaks, not sponsored, but they should. But Hattiesburg, I don't think has any steak. I've eaten there a couple times.
Brother,
There's always been
Blacksburg. Close your
Blacksburg.
Mississippi.
Hattiesburg does. Hattiesburg
Yeah.
does have a super regional though, so that's a fair.
Okay.
mix
Well,
up.
that's why I got confused. Yeah, because I know they have a McDonald's there, but no Omaha steaks. Well, actually, they might because I think you can get those mailed to you. That's the gimmick. Other than that, yeah, I don't want to. I love this sort of. I love when OU does good at baseball because OU generally doesn't care about baseball, and I think that's an amazing flex towards schools that do care about it, specifically Texas and things like that. So it's cool when we win at something that isn't necessarily our prime thing, but I don't want that to sound like I don't support it. I've just been, as we said, out of pocket, not on a band though.
We're recording this Sunday night, and if we're in Omaha and we're slated up to play Texas A&M this coming Friday. But on the other side of that bracket, this could be another really fun bracket in terms of OU stickball, what we got with softball. On the other side, Texas, they're playing Eastern Carolina right now in game 3, up 4-0, and it's currently delayed. But if that result holds, you'll have Texas on the same side of the bracket with you and Notre Dame. Notre Dame pulling off a big upset versus Tennessee. If Texas goes on to win that and we can come out and take down the Aggies, which is an absolute wonderful opponent to have, the stakes are extremely high every single time these two colleges play each other just because of the fan bases. But to go and play Texas A&M and then the chance to play Texas after that, like if you're not considering going to Omaha, like Bobby's talking about before the pod, already booking his tickets, just for the fact that we're playing Texas A&M and then a chance to play Texas, that's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Omaha is one of those, it's one of those settings in American sports that is just truly iconic. I know they're not at Rosenblatt anymore, but it's just one of those experiences that if your team gets a chance to go there, you try to do everything you can to make it. And I know it's tough because it's Father's Day weekend across the board. So making a last minute, try to throw plans out the window, it can be tricky, but it's absolutely worth it. If you're on the fence, I mean, I would be absolutely in on that. And not only that, but like you said, the teams we're playing, I feel like having those matchups kind of bolsters it to a level. It's fun playing teams you've never played before, but there's animosity between OU and A&M. There's animosity between OU Texas, obviously. And hell, even Notre Dame, just nobody likes Notre Dame. So
that's true.
And I'll say this.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Ty. You got it.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think my thought formed a little bit more about succeeding at sports that aren't traditionally things that OU cares about. It's one of the rare cases where I don't want to say underdog, but OU is well, I guess underdog is the proper term. Like we're coming into these matchups and we're not the big expectant, we don't have the weight of all these expectations on us. And obviously there is a lot of pressure there for the players, but hopefully they're feeling that as well. We don't have that weight of expectation of all this other hype, and a lot of the time that can be, I'm not going to start to dive into sports psychology again because I don't know anything about it, but I've known to do that because we can't give legal. If you host a podcast, you're legally allowed to give medical advice to your listeners, but that's if you consider psychology to be medicine. I don't know.
Oh no!
I'm not making a bit there. I just don't know. I don't know.
As Bobby just sits here I don't know anyone who has psychology in their career. Ooh.
Oh, goodness.
It's medicine, kind of.
Psychology is definitely a field of healthcare.
Well, I know it's
but it
under the
isn't
umbrella. Big
medicine.
enough. Yeah,
But
okay.
healthcare and medicine are very, very similar terms.
Man.
Yes,
Should
that
I-
is quite the argument to get into.
That is quite a rabbit hole, and
I completely
we need to bring on
what
stickball sports and
even
also
talking
is psychology medicine. Good
It
lord.
definitely is. It definitely is.
Off season. But no, I agree with you, Ty, though, with your point, because the thing is, I think that kind of makes it more fun, because it's not like we go into every game expecting to beat the crap out of this team, and if we don't, that's a disappointment, and blah, 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 blah. You just hope for the best, and, the worst might happen, but when you do win, when you do pull this off, like, it's awesome. It's the best. It's so fun. So I'm with you. I think it's pretty great to have these kind of low stakes but really fun, type of sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's
it's
not
going to be a lot of
necessarily.
fun.
It's like a house money situation.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think even with it being house money, we feel like this coming in. We're still a top 25 team in terms of how we were ranked in the regionals with Florida, but I do start feeling a little bit more pressure now playing Texas A&M and Texas. And this Virginia Tech regional, I was like, this has been a pretty cool story. We've got the young guys. We've come on strong. We won the Big 12 championship. We're getting hot at the right time. But Virginia Tech, like, this is a really good team of theirs. They're not a traditional team that's good year in and year out. We've talked about that. And they're the 4th seed in the nation. Like, if we go down to them, that's going to suck. But it's like, I feel pretty happy about how far we came. But now we're the real deal. We're at Omaha. You can't just say we're playing with house money and I'm not going to be upset if we lose. Like, this is where it's quite tangible. We can get this, because how many years, even if we're going to be really good, top 5, top 10 ranked here in future years, there's no guarantee you make it to this part in the tournament. And that's how college tournaments are. So you can't take it for granted.
Well, I mean, look at Tennessee. They were a team that a lot of people thought, like, this is the most dominant team in college baseball. They're steamrolling everyone. This is a lock for the Men's College World Series. And they go out and lay an absolute egg against Notre Dame. It is hard to get there. It is hard to win these sort of tournaments. And I'm with you. OU hasn't been since, 2010? We were freshmen in high school. Like, it's been a long time. This is a big deal. So I'm with you. It's a big deal. It's a big deal, and you're right. At this point, you don't want to be like, oh, shucks, house money, whatever. But it does kind of feel like that in some ways. Like, I'm not going to be devastated, like, upset at this team for blowing a chance if we lose. But at the same time, you're right. It's within grasp. This is a good team. This is a hot team. This is a team that can pitch well. I think they're set up for success in a tournament setting, just like what we saw in in Arlington in the Big 12 championship.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, on our side of the bracket, we've seen clear weaknesses with Texas. The way they play versus East Carolina, which obviously East Carolina is a very good squad this year. They have been giving up runs like it's nobody's business. Their pitching has definitely been faulty. And for a team with hot bats, you lick your chops with that. Texas A&M, they've been a great team this year. But once again, like, do they have the firepower to keep up with Oklahoma? There are faults on this side of the bracket. We're not going against a super team. Like, there's no one in college baseball this year that I've watched. I mean, Stanford, I guess, would be the closest to that, but Stanford still had their struggles in their regional versus Texas State. Shout out Boca the Bobcat. But there's no unstoppable team that's just plowing through this division. I feel like a lot of these series have been going to 3 games.
Oh, man, it would be incredible if Boca made it to the College World Series.
Yeah, and we don't have a first pitch yet, 1982. We are waiting. I'm pretty sure it's going to be on Friday, so it can either be at 2 o'clock or 6 o'clock. Is that right, Bobby? For those times.
So. Or
so we're just
Friday
waiting
or
to
Saturday.
hear back from that. Okay.
This is shaping up to be an awesome College World Series, because you have Arkansas through already. You have Ole Miss, who beat Southern Miss in the Hattiesburg regional, or super regional. Which, by the way, Ty, how dirty is a Ole Miss, Southern Miss, like, super regional? Like, what as someone who is lived in Mississippi, what must have that been like? I wonder.
Yeah, I obviously I wasn't there, but I think and obviously Southern Miss is not in the SEC, but that whole "it just means more" thing, I don't know if it holds true across the entirety of the geography that the SEC covers, but baseball in Mississippi is huge, and they deeply care about outperforming everyone else in state. All three teams: Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Southern Miss. So I would imagine that it was a super fun atmosphere. Southern Miss has a pretty neat campus, actually. It's surprising in facilities. So I bet it was popping. It's not like, OU playing Tulsa in something where, maybe the Tulsa fans have like a deep care for it, and then OU fans are just kind of zoned out or whatever else. Obviously, they're a little bit more equal, Southern Miss and Ole Miss in baseball, but it's not like a big brother, little brother situation. Might be in overall record, but both teams are coming in really caring. Fan bases are coming in really caring, and it takes on that really cool atmosphere where you feel like it just means more to the fans, because I think to some extent it does.
Absolutely. I definitely think it definitely does to some degree, for sure. And, in-state rivalries, always fun, especially when, the little brother or, smaller team, not a Power 5 team is hosting. I think that had to have been pretty cool. So, we're still looking at a couple things down the way. I think Oregon State, Auburn still have 2 games to play. Stanford is playing their second game right now. So there's a lot of this picture still to come. And we're going to have a little bit of a little College World Series surprise for you down the pipe. I think we're going to bring in a good old, an old friend to talk about the national scope of stickball to get you educated for
Kyler Murray.
Maybe.
We have close eyes.
It's either Bowden Blake or Kyler Murray. I can't decide which one would get more views. So, but anyways, I'm excited for it. It should be fun. I'm happy OU's in there, and I'm looking forward to trying to figure out some way to weasel my way to Omaha. So we'll see how it works. But yeah. Anyway, so James, any final thoughts on OU making the College World Series before we move on to the girls?
No, I'm just really excited that during this kind of, arid year in sports, that college wasn't a thing that normally people watch in this time of the year. And it's really nice to have something to look forward to watch each weekend. These are primetime slots, 2:00 and 6:00 on a Friday, and then you get an early morning Saturday game maybe. Like these are fun times to watch sports. So really excited to have that during this time of the year.
Day sports are the best. I love them. Ty, final thoughts?
Yeah, I think my final thing is I would get to Omaha if you can. And if you do go, try to find that Warren guy and ask if he's related to Jimmy Buffett, because I've always wondered, and results are inconclusive online.
Hey, both made a lot of money. Yeah, one just kind of sang about
might be the same
margaritas.
Dude. Could be the same
God.
Dude.
What if they
Breaking
are?
News.
Oh my God! What if Warren and Jimmy are the same person? Oh shit! I think we really broke something up in here. That's really interesting. I'm in on that conspiracy
content,
thread.
Baby.
I love it. I'm about it. Ty goes on one Caribbean vacation and he immediately makes the thread connection. So, yeah. Anyways, Let's talk about OU softball. A dominant win over Texas, swept them. Game 1, blew them out of the water. I don't even remember how many runs they scored. It was Texas just gave up halfway through.
Was it 10-5, right?
It was 10-5.
10-5 was game 2. Game 1 was like 16-2, I think.
Oh, okay,
yeah, 16-1 maybe.
I think it was 15-1.
Yeah, 15-1 was game 1. Game 2 was that 10-5. A little bit closer throughout the game if you watched it, but overall OU pulled ahead. Definitely won significantly. So,
Bobby, talk about your experience with betting that game too,
folks. I don't want to talk. I don't want to overshadow what they did, because what they did was just true dominance. I'll get to that point later. I don't want to. It was the worst bet. It was the worst beat I've ever had. I'll get to that in a moment. Let's talk about softball though. Jada Coleman, absolutely impeccable fielding. I personally think she was the MVP, if you ask me about that final series. I obviously get the Aloe thing. She was incredible, just incredibly I mean, the home runs, what can you say? But I feel like Jada Coleman, Tiare Jennings, I mean, you can't pick a single player who's that good. But I think Coleman, what she did in the outfield was a little bit better. I don't know. How do you even talk about this team without, like, other than just saying how great they are, Jameson?
Yeah, it's tough to talk about the MVP, and you can kind of put this in terms of, you see it all the time in football and basketball, professional and college, of whenever you're trying to find an MVP of these big bowl games or national championship games, typically the star gets the nod, because in terms of legacy, for Jocelyn Allo, she did not just shit the bed these first game two. Like game one, just unstoppable, 2 home runs, couldn't hit everything. And then, game two, obviously it wasn't the best, but she still was a very good, hitter and contributor to that win. Jada Coleman was the better performer, in the series. But in terms of legacy, I'm very, very happy to give it to Jocelyn Allo, because you want to give her in that, the conversation of best of all time, greatest of all time. In terms, she's definitely the greatest hitter of all time, and definitely in the argument for greatest of all time softball player. But it really makes you excited about the future that we have with Jada Coleman and Tiare Jennings coming in next year as juniors, having 2 more years to lead up this team. And then, new pitching that we'll be getting, recruiting, hopefully a healthier Jordy Ball where she can get her forearm, healed up properly and just run it back. And then hopefully we'll be playing in a brand new stadium pretty soon, where people have been talking about it and thought on Twitter. There's a nice little grassy area in this new stadium that if we keep getting money and keep getting W's, like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Kalani Ricketts, Lauren Chamberlain, Jocelyn Allo's statues up in this little grassy area at Love's Field.
Yeah, Allo absolutely deserves it, 100%. And I got to say, like, I think there's a legitimate debate, and I hate cross-sports debates, but between Allo and Maggie Nichols as the best 2 OU female athletes of all time. I think that's a really interesting one. But
yeah, it's pretty similar, but that is so hard to compare. It is completely
I don't know
different beast.
It would be more like who deserves the statue more. I would actually probably give it to Maggie Nichols.
I don't. That's the tough part, because then you got to say, like, which sport has more parity. And how close is the competition? Jocelyn Allo, in softball, OU softball is just dominant over and over, and it's a team sport. Maggie Nichols is an individual, so if she doesn't show up one day, she doesn't win her event. I know gymnastics has multiple team scoring, but if she doesn't show out, she loses. Jocelyn Allo can have a couple off games. So Maggie Nichols, I think, in those individual sports, in terms of dominance, is definitely the argument there.
For sure. 82 in the comments brought up Courtney Paris as well. Another worthy inclusion as well for that conversation. There are a lot of great female athletes, and honestly, it's time to start recognizing them a bit, because OU has gone from what it was, I would say, basically strictly a football school to they're not Stanford, they're not Texas, they're not UCLA, but they're diversifying their sports like success in a way that there aren't a lot of programs out there like that. They're not anywhere near winning like the Capital One Cup or whatever the hell the all sports cup is. But they are making massive improvements across the board. And, I think especially when it comes to women's athletics, it's time to start recognizing them more.
I think, yeah, no, I agree. And I think a neat point to mention, Bobby, is you mentioned schools like Stanford and Texas, not to do some sort of, rabbit hole or tangent, but I would give OU softball a lot of credit for, in gymnastics as well, is basically pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and just pure performance and athleticism and dominance in their fields by making themselves relevant. They weren't programs that had just tremendous money and funding that sort of, generated this progress, because you can't buy your way into success to some extent. And I'm not saying necessarily that's what Texas and Stanford did, but OU women's sports certainly has traditionally had less money than, Texas women's sports and Stanford women's sports especially.
Yeah, it's because those programs have more to spread around across the board. OU is just like, how do we win a football natty? But, I mean, yeah, Patty Gasso
Still looking
started,
for that answer. Still looking for that answer.
Patty Gasso started when they're at Reeves Park. Freaking Reeves Park. That's where they played their home game. So it's
ridiculous. That's where little kids used to play. Like, just put that in the scope. Like, I remember playing games at Reeves Park. Like, that's just nuts. And the thing is, like, money will follow success. The hard part is getting that success. Yes, you can buy success through money, but not a lot of the times that money's coming. So if you can get success for free and then get the money coming afterwards, that's always a recipe for success. And we're legitimately starting a dynasty because of it. You know, we've seen it with gymnastics. Gymnastics has turned into a dynasty. And after this year, and I think the way that Patty Gasso is reacting to this win in terms of her press conference and after the game, she's realizing that her team, Oklahoma, is up there in terms of UConn women's basketball, up there with Alabama football in terms of dynasty. Year in, year out, they're competing to win the national championship, the most dominant team. And with college, it's not like the professionals where the best team gets the worst draft pick. The best team in college softball is going to get the best recruits because people want to go and play to win. And whenever we have the Women College World Series in our backyard, it's really, really hard to out-recruit us. The only thing that's going to beat you if you want to go somewhere more academically charged, like, you know, UCLA, when we talk about Stanford and Texas, much better academic programs in Oklahoma. But if you're looking at your trade at softball and you want to go get coached by the best and go win national championships and have that legacy in your back pocket whenever you're growing old and you say, I have championship rings, which is something that, you know, an education brings you a lot of big things in terms of legacy, but, you know, having hardware that you can have for a long time, you come to Oklahoma for softball.
Absolutely.
Number one anti-education podcast.
Hey, but I mean, like, if I'm going to a college, this is just me. You know, as an athlete, majority of people are extremely competitive, and their competitive side of their brain is usually going to trump the more realism side. And they're like, okay, realistically, it probably is better for me as a person, as a human being, as a softball player, as a gymnast, unless I'm like some superstar that can actually use this as a career and market myself, that I should go to a place that can set me up academically to do well in life. But also the competitors, all these athletes say, I know that I want to go win. I do whatever I can to win because that's how hard I work to get myself to this spot. So winning is a huge priority, and that's why a lot of people come to OU, and that's why a lot of people go to Alabama, and that's why people travel across the country to go play in Connecticut for basketball, because you want to get coached by the best in Gino Auriemma and Nick Saban and Patty Gasso, and you want to go win national championships, and that's the way to go.
Absolutely. Because it is truly the highest level of that. And I know that there are like some smaller leagues in softball, and, you know, they really need to have a real solid league, even if it's just like a travel situation. But I mean, you know what I mean? It's USSA, Pride, and then some other team, and they play each other like it's the Harlem Globetrotters at like 4 different places.
Yeah.
So I think there's room for growth. There's room for improvement. I know Lauren Chamberlain is working on building a league of that nature. I didn't want to see a league of their own because I felt like that would be a mistake. But no, for real, like they really deserve to
5-minute ban next podcast.
Okay. Can't ban the host. But no, for real, like,
reality. Give them the
that's
mute.
not even that bad.
Great penalty.
They need to have a softball league that can do those sort of things, because I think that's the next level. But until then, the NCAA D1 is the creme de la creme. That is the top of the top, and having it in Oklahoma City and all that, it's just the best. And it's not even from an OU perspective. It definitely is from an OU perspective as well. But from a Oklahoma City perspective, getting that event here every year is just such a brilliant move. It is so. I'd argue it's the best like yearly annual event in OKC, hands down, if you ask me.
I mean, what are the competition? What are you going to compete it with? The Paseo and Oklahoma City Arts Festival? I'm at lost. There's obviously the noodling competition at Paul's Valley. Hold on. There's obviously some big ones here that we're not.
Zoo
okay.
brew.
I was just thinking of Oklahoma.
Yeah, okay.
Zoo
The sip
brew.
and stroll at the zoo is pretty. The sip and stroll at the zoo is pretty cool. I'm not
Michael,
gonna lie.
Michael in the comments said Norman Music Fest. Not bad.
Oh, the
Oh,
medieval fair. The medieval
medieval
fair.
The medieval fair.
in the
Another
spring
People
game.
travel from
The
Second
far.
best
Gang
thing to happen at
halftime
Reeves
show.
Park. That's great. That's funny.
Yeah.
But no, for real, it's awesome. Shout out to OU softball. Another great year. It was a pleasure watching them. It was just awesome. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it for our show. Ty, do you want to give some F1 updates? What happened in Azerbaijan? How do you feel about what happened?
I feel amazing. Amazing. My team, my precious Alpines sort of underperformed, but anytime you get Ferrari tears, terrible performance by Ferrari, that's what it's all about, really. It's not about anyone else winning. It's just about Ferrari losing. So shout out to that. Big shout out to Mercedes finally fixing stuff. Lewis Hamilton really suffered through some atrocious car to perform really well, honestly, for the situation he was given. So really showing his performance. And then I do want to announce that the Schooner Pod is a 100% pro LIV golf tournament podcast.
Oh no, we aren't.
Bobby is wearing a PGA hat, ironically, as a joke.
Oh my god! Yeah,
Hey, Bobby,
I don't even have a strong feeling about it.
The LIV is throwing money out like crazy. So we're never going to get a PGA sponsorship, but you never know. So
yeah, I mean, never know.
Okay, but stranger things. Some random Canadians into hockey found us one time. So
that is true.
I think
shout out to TPPN.
Some Saudis that are into golf.
No. We're not. I that is probably where I draw the line. I don't want to do that.
Oh, we're not going to draw the line with Azerbaijan, who has been starting ethnic wars, but we're going to draw the line at the Saudis.
Okay, I don't know. Anyways, I don't know. Let's move on. Jameson, final thoughts.
God, there's my penalty for next week.
No. I think I'll be doing a solo pod for next week.
Jameson,
I don't know if Bobby is entirely going to be out of the penalty box.
Jameson, what are your thoughts on sports washing?
I'm no comment on anything more. We need somebody on the pod. Bobby, take us out.
All right, we're ending this podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you later this week when we talk about the College World Series, a little bit more in depth, a little bit more about the field as a whole, and keep an eye on us. We'll we might do some little coverage, in Omaha. We might not. We don't know. We'll see how it works. But until then, y'all have a great rest of your week. Boomer Sooner, everybody. Have a good one.